Hi friends, and welcome to my fourth video on Amazon Web Services or AWS. Now in this lesson we want to learn about IAM user group. Now first of all, what is IAM user group? Now an IAM user group is a collection of IAM users. You can use user groups to specify permissions for a collection of users, which can make those permissions easier to manage for those users. For example, you could have a user group called RDS admins and give those users group the type of permissions that they can just use and manage RDS functionalities, like creating MySQL database, Postgres database, and adding data to those databases. Now, IAM groups do not have their own credentials, but when an IAM user makes an API call with their access key, AWS look up that user's group memberships and find the relevant permissions policies. So now I'm in my AWS console, so let me just click on IAM. So now you will see that right now I don't have any user group, so I want to create two groups. Now for the first user, so right now if I go to the user groups, you can see that I don't have any user group, and if I go to the users, I have some users. So this user, this user, this user. Now I want to just create two new user. Let me just create, so add a user. So let me just create the user. So for example, I can just say RDS at main. So, or we can just say RDS user. Okay, so let me just say RDS user. So we can just say we can access that through the AWS management console, next permission. So now first we are going to create our groups, and after that we will create our users, because we need to add that, even though we can add that later. Okay, so now we can just go to the user groups, and in here we want to create a group. Okay, so for example, for the first group I want to just say RDS admins. For example, I want to add the users that they should be able to just work on RDS functionalities. For example, what's RDS? It's a relational database service. You can create MySQL database, Postgres database, or any other type of databases. Now, for example, I want to add the users that they just, for example, they create the MySQL databases, or they can work just with the functionalities of RDS or relational database services. Okay. And after that, from here, if you want, you can add any user. For right now, I don't want to any user in here. Now, from this section, you need to attach a permission policy. So as the name suggests, for example, we are giving RDS admins, and this group is related to the RDS functionalities. So we want to just attach the RDS full access policy to this group. Okay. So for example, up in here, I can just say RDS, I think it was full admin access. I don't know, it was like this, or so if I search this in the second page, so I should see that. So RDS. Okay, so now this is Amazon RDS full access. Okay, so now if I see the JSON, so you can see that we have RDS all, and for example, we have delete scaling policy. Now this is a full access policy, and we want to just give, you can see that the effect is allow and resources all. Now we want to just give this to this RDS users. Okay, so this RDS admin group. Okay, so I can just choose this, and after that I can just click on create group. So now the first group is created, but right now if you see, the permission is defined, but we don't have any user in here. Okay, now let's create another group, and I want to just say, for example, S3 admins. Now in here I want to add the users that they should be able just to work on S3. Okay, and from here we can just search for the policy. So I can just say S3. Let me just search S3. We have you can see that we have Amazon S3. You can use, for example, you can use read-only access, but I want to give a full access. For example, they can write, read, and delete, or delete, for example, S3 buckets. Okay, so I can just choose this, and after that I want to just create the group. Click on create group. Okay, So now we have two groups, but right now we don't have any users. So this is the first one and this is the second one. Now let's create users. So I want to add one user to this group and one user to this group, but you can add a lot of users to these groups. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 500. Okay, but I want to just add one user for this group that they should be able to for example, work on RDS functionality or relational database service functionalities, and another one to S3 admins that the user will be able to work on simple storage. Okay, so let's just go to the users, and from here, even though I have some users, but I want to just create a new user, so let me just click on add user, and in here I can give the user RDS, for example, let me just say RDS user. Okay, RDS user, and I want it should be AWS Management Console. Click on next. Okay, so now in here we don't want to attach the policy directly. Now if you remember from the first videos, that when we create our users, for example, when you create your user, you need to attach a policy to that user. For example, if you attach administrator access, now that user will be able to have a full access to our AWS account. For example, you can just search for any specific product that you want to give to that. Okay, but in here we don't want to directly add the permission. We have group, we want to add this user to that group, and that group has the permission. Okay, the policy permission. So I can just choose RDS admins, and after that I can just click on next. I don't want to add any tag in here. Review, and now create user. I forgot. Okay, so now we have, okay, so now we have this. Now we want to just copy. First I want to just copy this one from here. Now that the name is RDS user, and I can just say RDS user, and we want to show the password because we will need this password. Okay, it's not copied. Copy, and I can just paste it in here. Okay, so this is the password. Let's close this, and now let's add another user. Okay, so now the RDS user is created. Let's just click on add user, and this time I want to just say S3 user. Okay, so it should be S3 user, and after that password, you can change the password, but I want auto generated password. Next, and now I want to just add that to S3 admins, and click on next. I don't want to add any tag, and create user. Okay, so now the second user is created. I can just copy this, and this is S3 user, so S3 user, and after that I can just show the password, and I can just copy this password and I can paste it in here. Okay, so now we have two groups, and now if I go to my user groups, you will see that now I have two users that they are located in the different groups. Okay, so if I go to the user groups, so now you will see I have one user in here, and if I click on this, so this is RDS user, and if I click on this, and this is 3 users. Okay, now we want to just log out from this account. First I want to log in through this user, and we want to check that this user is able, now this user will be able to just access the RDS or relational database service functionalities. And now let me just log out this, sign out this. So now in here we want to choose the IAM user. First we want to just give this ID from here, and let me just copy this and let me paste it in here. After that we want to click on next, and in here we need to give the username, so that is RDS user. So let me just copy and paste this, and after that we want to give the password. Now this is the password. Let's paste it. It will be okay. Now we need to just add a new password because that policy is attached by default to this user, and for the new password I want to just change this to B. Confirm password change. So let's just, okay, so now we are logged in as RDS user. Okay, so for right now, if I go to for example RDS, now even though right now we haven't learned about the RDS, but this user is able to, for example, create RDS, create MySQL database or Postgres database. So it's relational database service that we will talk this in the later part of the course. And right now, now the point is this, that okay, so you can see that this user can create database or can work, so we don't have any warning or anything in here. Okay, but if this user, for example, if I go back, if I open, for example, S3 service, and let's just go to this S3, even though Amazon Pool is not working, but let me go back. So now let's just go to this S3. And let's just wait. Okay, so you can see that you don't have permission to list buckets. We don't have any permission to create buckets to list buckets, because after you or your AWS administrator have updated your permissions to allow us to list my buckets action, refresh this page. Okay, right now this user or this user doesn't have access to all services. This user just can access to RDS functionalities. Okay, because we have a group that we have attached the RDS full access policy to that user group. Okay, so now I want to just log out from this user, and I want to just log into this 3 users. So let me just sign out from here. So now in here we need to first give the account ID. So this is the account ID. Let me just copy that. After that we need to give the username, so that is S3 user. And also we need to give the password. And let me just copy and paste that. Let's sign in. Okay, change password, for example. Let me just change this. First, let me just add the old password, and now, so we have the new password, and confirm password change. So now we are logged in as S3 user. And now this user just have access to the S3 functionality. So if I go to S3, and you will see that now we will not see any warning or error. Now this user, okay, so now you can see you can create a bucket if you want. From here you can just create bucket, or you can, for example, delete bucket, or you can, for example, upload files or images in the bucket. Now this user has full access policy to the Amazon S3. Okay, but this user cannot use another services, like for example Amazon RDS or Amazon Pool or EC2 or like these services. Okay, so this is the main concept on IAM user group.